The federal courtroom was thick with tension on November 24, 2025, a day that would upend Trump's legal offensive and send shockwaves through the nation's political landscape. The air was heavy, every eye fixed on the bench, every whisper echoing with anticipation. Judge Cameron McGowan. Curry sat poised, her expression unreadable, ready to deliver a ruling that would soon become headline news. On one side, lawyers for James Comey and Letitia James waited quietly, their nerves barely concealed. On the other, Trump's legal team brimmed with confidence, certain they were on the verge of a decisive win. They expected victory, having secured indictments against two of Trump's fiercest critics. Their strategy, months in the making, seemed flawless, until this moment. Then, the judge spoke, her voice steady, her words devastating, slicing through the courtroom's expectations like a knife. She didn't just question the cases, she dismantled their legal foundation piece by piece. The indictments were void, the cases dismissed. The legal arguments, she said, simply did not hold up under scrutiny. Silence hung for a moment, thick and suffocating. Then Trump's lawyers erupted in outrage, shouting objections the judge ignored, their earlier confidence shattered. The courtroom descended into chaos as the judge's clerk gathered documents, the sound of shuffling papers underscoring the sudden reversal of fortune. Trump's lead attorney shouted, "This is an outrage, a political hit job," his voice cracking, his confidence replaced by disbelief and shock. Judge Curry, unmoved and resolute, had made her decision strictly on the law, refusing to be swayed by theatrics or political pressure. The dismissal was a public spectacle, a legal strategy spectacularly backfiring at the highest level, with reporters scribbling furiously and observers gasping in disbelief. Trump's team scrambled, muttering about appeals and next steps, while Comey and James's lawyers quietly shook hands in relief, their months of anxiety finally giving way to cautious optimism. They had always argued the prosecutions were politically motivated and baseless, and now, with the judge's ruling, their arguments had found powerful validation. The judge's decision was total vindication, a moment of triumph for those who had stood their ground against immense pressure. Court officers stepped in as Trump's team continued shouting, signaling the proceedings were over and order must be restored. The gavel fell, its echo reverberating far beyond the courtroom, marking not just the end of a case, but the beginning of a new chapter in a deeply divided nation. The cases dismissed that day weren't ordinary. They targeted Trump's longtime adversaries. James Comey, former FBI director, was indicted for allegedly mishandling classified memos, charges widely seen as political payback. Letitia James, New York's attorney general, faced accusations of abusing her office to target Trump, a federal prosecution of a state official that alarmed legal experts. Both indictments were celebrated by Trump's allies as overdue justice, but critics saw them as thinly veiled acts of political retribution. From the start, legal analysts warned these cases were built on shaky ground, more about settling scores than upholding the law. Judge Curry's dismissal wasn't about guilt or innocence, it was about process, the very foundation of our legal system. In court, the rules and procedures are as important as the facts themselves. The flaw was fundamental. Lindsay Halligan, the prosecutor who secured the indictments, was unlawfully appointed. This wasn't a technicality, but a violation that cut to the heart of due process. Halligan, a Trump loyalist with no prosecutorial experience, was installed after the previous U.S. attorney was removed for questioning the cases. Her appointment raised immediate concerns about fairness and impartiality. Within days, Halligan indicted Comey. Weeks later, James. The speed and manner of these indictments only deepened the controversy. The judge ruled Halligan's appointment violated federal law. She never had legal authority. Every action she took, including the indictments, was void from the start. Every motion, every filing, every decision she made was erased, as if it had never happened. The legal consequences were sweeping. This procedural check is vital. The government must follow its own rules, especially in criminal prosecutions. Without these safeguards, justice cannot be trusted. The cases were dismissed without prejudice, meaning they could, in theory, be brought again. But for Comey, the statute of limitations likely makes the dismissal permanent, closing the door for good. For James, refiling would require starting from scratch, under intense scrutiny and with every step watched by the public and the press. The ruling was a masterclass in judicial process, a reminder that even the powerful must obey the law, and that shortcuts in justice come at a high price. The message is clear. Process matters as much as outcome. The integrity of the system depends on it. The government's shortcut backfired, and the cases collapsed, leaving a cautionary tale for future prosecutors and officials. In the end, the law, not politics, prevailed, reaffirming the principle that justice must be done the right way, or not at all. At the center were figures emblematic of America's political divide. Judge Curry, a Clinton appointee, is known for her fairness and focus on legal precedent. Lindsay Halligan, Trump's personal attorney, was thrust into a prosecutorial role for which she was unqualified. Her loyalty, not experience, was her main credential. Comey and James, both symbols of resistance to Trump, became targets in a legal drama that blurred the line between justice and politics. Trump himself, though not in court, loomed over the proceedings, his grievances driving the prosecutions. The collapse of these cases was a blow to his narrative of victimhood and retribution. Each player's role underscored the immense pressure on the justice system in a polarized era. The fallout was immediate and fierce, sending shockwaves through the political and legal landscape. News outlets scrambled to cover every angle, and social media erupted with heated debate as the story dominated headlines across the country. The White House swiftly condemned the ruling, vowing to appeal and framing it as a politically motivated obstacle designed to undermine their agenda. Officials insisted the decision was unjust and signaled their determination to fight back in the courts and in the court of public opinion. James Comey, the former FBI director at the center of the controversy, called the prosecution malevolence and incompetence from the start, insisting he'd been targeted for political reasons. He argued that the case was less about justice and more about silencing dissent. Letitia James, New York's Attorney General, labeled the charges baseless and a blatant abuse of power, framing the prosecution as an attempt to obstruct her ongoing investigations into Trump. She emphasized that her office would not be intimidated or deterred by what she described as political gamesmanship. The episode reinforced the perception among many observers that Trump's legal tactics were more about spectacle than substance, designed to generate headlines and rally his base rather than achieve meaningful legal victories. Just months earlier, a judge had dismissed Trump's $15 billion defamation suit against the New York Times, calling it a public relations exercise rather than a serious legal claim. The ruling was widely seen as a rebuke of Trump's strategy of using the courts to settle political scores. The pattern was clear: legal maneuvers as political theater, repeatedly rebuked by the courts, yet continuing to fuel partisan battles and public controversy. For Trump's critics, the dismissals were proof of overreach and abuse of the legal system. For his supporters, they were seen as further evidence of a rigged system stacked against him, deepening the sense of grievance and mistrust. The legal and political divide only deepened, with each side more entrenched than ever, and the nation left grappling with the consequences of a justice system caught in the crossfire of partisan conflict. The failed prosecutions fit a familiar Trump strategy, using the legal system as a weapon. Lawsuits and indictments serve less to win in court than to generate headlines, intimidate opponents, and rally supporters. Judges have increasingly pushed back. In 2022, Trump and his attorney were fined for filing a frivolous lawsuit against Hillary Clinton. Recent lawsuits against major media outlets with astronomical demands were designed to chill critical reporting, not necessarily to win. The prosecutions of Comey and James marked an escalation. Criminal law wielded for political ends, but the system's checks and balances, embodied by independent judges, proved resilient. The message: the courts are not mere tools for political vendettas. With the cases dismissed, the Trump administration vowed to appeal, keeping the legal fight and the headlines alive. An appeal could take months, but even a reversal would face skepticism and legal hurdles, especially with the statute of limitations looming for Comey. For James, a new indictment would look desperate and risk further backlash. Meanwhile, Trump's civil lawsuits face their own challenges. After the Times suit was tossed, his team was told to refile with less rhetoric and more substance. Politically, the dismissals energized both sides. Democrats saw vindication and a check on abuse of power. Trump's camp doubled down on claims of bias and a rigged system. The result: deeper polarization and eroding trust in the judiciary. Every legal decision became another front in the nation's political war. The legal saga was far from over. These court battles reveal a deeper struggle over the soul of American democracy. The justice system's legitimacy depends on impartiality, law above politics. The failed prosecutions and rebuked lawsuits tested that principle, but also showed the system's resilience. Judges from both parties pushed back against overreach, reaffirming the judiciary's role as a guardian of fairness. Yet, repeated legal theatrics risk eroding public trust. Trump's strategy of attacking judges and delegitimizing decisions encourages his base to see the courts as political tools. This erosion is dangerous. A democracy needs faith in its institutions. The saga is a reminder. The system can hold, but its norms are fragile. Protecting the courts from hyperpartisanship is an ongoing battle. As appeals and lawsuits continue, the real question is whether American justice can withstand the pressures of division.